One word, just one word, and it cost a man his freedom. He didn't pull a weapon, he didn't run, he didn't lie. He simply said yes. That's it, one single yes. And everything he had built, his reputation, his job, his family's trust, gone just like that. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you're gonna understand something about your legal rights that most Americans have no idea about. And honestly, it might be the most important thing you hear all year. Here's what nobody tells you. The law doesn't care if you were trying to be nice. The law doesn't care if you were just being cooperative. And the law absolutely does not care if you didn't know your rights. Ignorance is not a defense. Politeness is not a protection. Now, before I get into the story, I want you to think about this. Has a police officer ever asked you for something free? Your phone, your bag, your car keys, PC, and you just handed it over because you felt like you had to. Like refusing would make you look guilty? I'm going to show you today why that feeling could be the most dangerous instinct you have. This is a real case. Let me introduce you to Marcus. Now I'm going to protect some personal details here because this case involves real people and real legal proceedings. But the core facts are real and they are documented. I'll reference everything at the end of this video so you can verify it yourself. Marcus was a 34-year-old guy, regular guy, worked in logistics out of Charlotte, North Carolina. Had a clean record, no priors, no warrants, nothing. Paid his taxes, coached his kids' little league team on weekends. By every measure, Marcus was exactly the kind of person who thinks, I have nothing to hide, so I have nothing to worry about. Let's see. And that right there, that thought, is where the story begins. It was a Tuesday evening. Marcus is heading home after a long shift. Gets pulled over for a broken taillight. Simple traffic stop. He's done nothing wrong. He knows he's done nothing wrong. The officer walks up, polite, professional, asks for license and registration. Marcus hands it over. No problem. And then the officer asks one more question. Sir, do you mind if I take a quick look in your vehicle? Marcus, being Marcus, cooperative, calm, nothing to hide Marcus, said, sure, go ahead. That was the yes that changed everything. Now here's where you need to pay close attention because this is where most people completely misread the situation. The officer searches the car and he finds something. In the back seat, tucked under a gym bag, there's a small lockbox. Marcus explains it belongs to his cousin who he'd driven home the previous weekend. He'd completely forgotten it was there. The officer asks if Marcus knows the combination or has a key. Marcus says no, he does not know. The officer calls for backup. A second unit arrives. Within 20 minutes, they have the box open. And with Marcus's verbal permission, by the way, he kept agreeing, kept trying to be helpful. Inside the box, a small amount of a controlled substance and a scale. Now Marcus is standing on the side of the highway in handcuffs. His hands are shaking. He's trying to explain. He's telling them it's not his. He's telling them about his cousin. And the officers, they're listening, they're nodding, but they're also putting him in the back of that squad car. Here's the part that breaks my heart every time I look at this case. If Marcus had simply said, no, I'd rather you didn't, which is his absolute legal right, the officer could not have searched that vehicle, not without a warrant, not without probable cause. That box stays under the gym bag. Marcus drives home, coaches Little League that Saturday. End of story. But he said yes, and that yes was a legally binding consent to search. By the time his public defender explained this to him, it was too late. The evidence was already in. The search was already legal because Marcus had made it legal the moment he said that one word. He eventually faced charges for possession with intent to distribute. you? A felony, based on what was found in that box. His case went through months of legal proceedings, his job gone within 2 weeks of the arrest. His kids found out through kids at school. All of it from one word. All right, let me break down exactly what happened here legally, because understanding this could protect you one day. The Fourth Amendment to the United States Constitution. This is your shield. This is the amendment that protects you from unreasonable searches and seizures by the government. It means that in most situations, law enforcement needs either a warrant signed by a judge or what's called probable cause, a concrete, articulable reason to believe a crime is happening before they can search your property. Your car is covered under the Fourth Amendment. Your home is covered. Your phone is covered. Your bags are covered. Now here's the critical part. There is one situation where none of that protection applies, and that situation is called consent. If you voluntarily agree to a search, you say yes, you waive them in, you hand over your keys, you have just waived your Fourth Amendment rights for that moment. The officer no longer needs a warrant. They no longer need probable cause. You gave them something more powerful than both of those things combined. You gave them permission. Courts have upheld this repeatedly. In Schneckloth versus Bustamante, a 1973 Supreme Court case, the court ruled that a consensual search is an exception to the Fourth Amendment warrant requirement. And critically, the court also ruled that the police are not required to tell you that you have the right to refuse. Let me say that again. The police do not have to tell you that you can say no. That is not their job. Their job is to investigate. Your job, if you want to protect yourself, is to know your rights before that moment arrives. Now, I want to be crystal clear here. I am not telling you to be rude to police. I am not telling you to be aggressive or uncooperative in a way that escalates a situation. That is not what this channel is about. What I'm telling you is this. You can be completely polite, completely calm, completely respectful, and still say, "Officer, I appreciate your work, but I'd prefer not to consent to a search." That is your right. That is protected, and a good officer will respect it. Real quick, if you've learned something from this video that you didn't know before, drop a like right now. I mean it. It sounds small, but it genuinely helps this information reach more people who need to hear it. People who are out there right now thinking they have nothing to hide, not realizing what that actually means legally. Okay, back to Marcus, because the story isn't over yet. Here's the twist, and this one is going to stay with you. Marcus's attorney found something in the police report, something small, something most people would have read right past. The officer had written in his notes that before he even asked about searching the car, he had observed what he described as nervous behavior and an unusual odor. Now, in legal terms, those two things together, if documented properly, could potentially amount to probable cause. Meaning the officer might have been able to search the car anyway. But here's the thing, might have, could have, possibly, that's not the same as definitely. Probable cause has to survive a court challenge. A judge has to look at that reasoning and agree that it was sufficient. Defense attorneys challenge this all the time, and sometimes, not always, but sometimes those challenges succeed. Evidence gets thrown out, cases collapse. Marcus's attorney believed they had a real shot at suppressing that evidence, getting it thrown out entirely, because nervous behavior from a guy who just got pulled over, that describes almost every driver on the road. An unusual odor is one of the most contested phrases in traffic stop law. But none of that mattered anymore because Marcus had consented to the search. The moment he said yes, the question of probable cause became irrelevant. There was nothing left to challenge. The consent wiped out any argument his defense could have made. His attorney looked at him across that table and said, "Marcus, if you had just said no, I think we could have won this." That's the weight of one word. All right, let's make sure what happened to Marcus Marcus never happens to you. Here are the things you need to know. And they're all completely legal, completely ethical, and completely your right as an American citizen. Number one, you always have the right to decline a consent search. If a law enforcement officer asks to search your car, your bag, your home, or your phone, you are legally allowed to say no. The way you say it matters. Stay calm. Stay respectful. Say something like, "Officer, I respect your work, but I'm not comfortable consenting to a search." That's it. Simple, clean, legal. Number two, silence is not consent, but yes is. If you say nothing, that's generally not treated as consent. But if you nod, if you wave them forward, if you say sure or go ahead, courts have found that to be consent. Be deliberate about what you communicate. Number three, know the difference between a lawful order and a request. An officer ordering you out of the vehicle during a lawful stop that you generally must comply with under Pennsylvania versus Mims. But an officer asking if they can look inside your car, that's a request. Requests can be declined. Number four, if you're unsure whether something is an order or a request, it is completely legal to ask, "Officer, am I required by law to comply with this?" A professional officer will answer you honestly. Number five, if you are ever arrested, regardless of the circumstances, stop talking. This is the hardest thing for most people to do because everything inside you wants to explain, to defend yourself, to clear up the misunderstanding. But the Fifth Amendment gives you the right to remain silent. Use it. Say clearly, "I am invoking my right to remain silent and I would like an attorney." Then stop talking. Not another word until your lawyer arrives. I know that sounds dramatic, but what happened to Marcus was also dramatic and it was real. These rights exist because people fought for them, because the founders of this country understood that the government, no matter how well intentioned, needs limits. And those limits only protect you if you know they're there. If this channel is giving you something, real legal awareness, real protection for you and your family, then subscribe to Courtroom Secrets, because what you don't know about the law can hurt you. And it has hurt people, real people like Marcus. And drop a comment below. Tell me, has a police officer ever asked to search your car or your property? What did you do? I read every single comment on this channel. Let's talk about it. I think about Marcus sometimes, not because his story is unique, but because it's common. Because there are thousands of people sitting in courtrooms or sitting in cells right now who made the same mistake he did. Not because they were criminals, but because they were polite. Because they were taught that cooperating with authority means doing whatever authority asks. There's a difference between cooperation and surrender. There's a difference between being a good citizen and giving up the constitutional protections that good citizens earn for you. You can be both respectful and informed. In fact, the law expects you to be. Marcus eventually took a plea deal, reduced charges, probation, no prison time, partly because of his clean record. But the felony charge followed him, made it harder to find work, made every job application a conversation he didn't want to have. All of it from one word. Know your rights, not because you're planning to break the law, but because the law is complex. Because situations happen. Because one unexpected Tuesday evening can change the direction of your entire life. And when that moment comes, and I hope it never does, I want you to be ready. In the next video, I'm covering a case that shocked even veteran defense attorneys. A woman walked into a police station to answer a few routine questions for her. Like, does she arrest? No warrant, no Miranda warning. And by the time she walked out, she had already confessed to a crime without realizing it. That video goes up this week. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss it. I'm David Hanna. This is Courtroom Secrets. Stay informed, stay protected. I'll see you in the next one.